Sepertinya semuanya sudah siap. Tinggal nunggu muridnya bergabung. Hai, Widi. Good evening. Halo, Widi.
Halo.
Kabar? Lesu bener kok hari ini.
Hah?
Kok lesu bener? Belum makan kah?
Udah kekenyangan enggak lah.
Kenyangan malah. Makan apa temanya malam ini tuh?
Dek,
Deketin saya.
Makan apa temanya malam ini?
makan malam.
Tadi sore
Tadi makan steak.
Oh iya. Oh ini kekenyangan sih nih. Banyak proteinnya. Gimana? Selama seminggu ini belum ketemu kakak lagi. Ada keseruan apa di rumah?
Main HP.
Main apa? Main apa? Kamu main Free Fire atau Mobile Legends something?
Enggak. Main Geometry Dash. Main Plants vs Zombie juga.
Oh, Plants vs Zombie.
Iya.
Emang ada di HP ya? Kakak baru tahu malah.
Ada
Di apa? Di iOS atau Android? Itu.
iOS.
iOS. Di App Store ya berarti ya?
Iya.
Nanti coba aku cari deh. Kakak juga dulu sering mainin itu tuh. Seneng ngeliatin mereka jalannya pelan-pelan. Sampai kalau nggak salah dulu kakak main terakhir tuh yang ada jagung-jagungnya itu loh. Lempar jagung sama mayones. Nah sekarang nggak tahu tuh kalau udah dalam bentuk versi online seperti itu dia akan ada seperti apa lagi. Bisa kecek deh. Penasaran. Kakak kira tuh itu cuma ya sudah mentok di PC aja, PC platform gitu kan. Oke, everything is good, I think. Okay, Widi, do you remember anything about what we learned last week?
eh Apa ya?
What are the things? What were the things that we uh get from last week's sessions?
Perkalian,
Okay,
multiplication and addition,
multiplication. Hmm, and
and
then.
which calculations do we do first?
Hmm, okay, anything else?
I forgot.
Okay, that's good. That's good. At least you at least somehow remember some of the things that are actually really important as well. Yeah, you're right. We are going to use the skill set, which one that we need to calculate first before we decide uh the whole result that any kind of exercise that wanted us to find the answer. The thing is, consider the right calculation would also important for uh you know trying to find the logic which one is right, not only because we want it, because sometimes we find the answer immediately right after we notice, oh, this one is easy, or this one uh is actually straightforward. But unfortunately, sometimes just because that we want to find the fastest answer, we forgot that the element that need to be put in our mind is to whether or not that our answer would definitely the right answer. So I hope that you keep it in mind for that thing, because what we are going to learn from time to time, right, from the session and moving forward is going to uh something that should involve the right consideration, the right calculation, because uh we are going to sharpen this kind of skill set. So in case that you find the complexity of something that needs your answer, that needs your understanding, please just be careful, just be mindful, and relax. This is just like the lesson with me, not a formal education with your teacher or something. There is no uh there is no real test, even though that I probably would put some test to you. But yeah, you don't have to worry because I'm gonna help you throughout it. Okay, so last week we also correlate about the story of the rental bike challenge. Now I'm gonna take you to the situation or scenario that you and your family comes to the forest, takes your bike to another level, not only to going down to the park, but also to the forest trail. Have you seen any kind of forest trail adventure? Like mountain bike trying to do the trip road down from certain destination to the certain destination. They don't know where the path is. They just try to assume that they know the path, but they actually just randomly trying to figure out how to, you know, find a way through the obstacles, try to enjoy the nature, something like that. Do you ever see such kind of things in YouTube or maybe Instagram, something like that?
Yes.
Ah, it's all similar with the motorbike. Yeah, right. The motocross or maybe the mountain bike downhill, something like that. Maybe the kind of game that you're actually also familiar with. This is the kind of things I I can consider the same. And what I'm gonna do right here is I'm gonna ask you to involve the previous learning, the last learning lesson that you actually learned at school. I noticed that you also already learned about the transformation, if I forgot about the topic. Yeah, basically that uh the transformation using the Cartesian diagram would be used in this lesson. I'm gonna tell you why. So before that, forest trail adventures. The main goal with this forest trail adventure is trying to coordinate, trying to, you know, to find the best path just to reach out to our destination. Because you are in the middle of the forest, there is no fixed road. You only know one element when you are in the middle of the jungle. You might have a map, but there is no Google map right there. You do have map, but in different level. If you have recognize the blind map. Have you ever seen any of those before?
Blind map?
Yeah, blind map.
No.
It's similar to like ah, let me try. Let me try to find something. Okay, blind map. This one. Hang on. Let me replace the screen share to the process. Okay, one of the map that is considered as the blind map is like this. This is the topographic map that is telling you which point that was described on the map was the highest point, the lowest point, where is the swamp, the river, something like that. The thing is, you're not sure how to take the road, right? It's totally different to compare to the map that you used to see on the Google map. There is road, there is sign, there is a junction, something like that. But in the topographic map, it's also considered as the blind map, and you have nothing to see except but the position of the certain ground. Okay. It's also similar to the world map, where you actually don't have any particular idea about uh fixed point, where's the Las Vegas, how to reach Las Vegas, for example, how to reach Jakarta, something like that. You only have the general map. It can be made by certain person that actually was exploring the map or maybe the jungle, for example. Yeah, something like that. Something like now, one of the skill set that is really important for us to make some sense in reading this map when you are doing especially the forest trail. Either you walk in the jungle, for example, or maybe you want to do a trail bike run for that. Uh, the understanding of how we reach certain point is also important. Uh, do you ever notice there is like scale when you're reading the map? One of 10,000, something like that. Ah, so there is scale that actually describe uh every line on the map, whether the view of the map shows you that every centimeter of this map represent 100 kilometers or something like that. And the thing that is also similar to the blind map or the topographic map, also showing the same scale, right? If you never noticed about this, yeah, maybe later after this lesson, you could try to open your Google Map and then you zoom out. You would notice on the either top right or the bottom right, there is a scale showing for the map, each centimeter of that map showing how much kilometer it would represent, right? And it's also being represented or displayed as part of the diagram calculations. Or maybe you could say in your latest lessons on your third grade as the transformation of the coordinates. Now, let's imagine that after the fact that your family goes to the Hutan Pinus for the bike trail adventure. The rangers, the rangers, I could tell that is also the guide of that forest. Or maybe someone that's actually oftenly explore the forest. He knows exactly which point that actually you need to come first before you're going down to another road. The ranger is also similar to the someone that is actually uh quite often explore something that is actually new but rare for common people. So they have certain skill set that is actually unique about the survival, how to do a camp without nothing, and maybe certain skill set that require the experience of how to thrive in the jungle. You know, you have limited resources in your mind, but actually you have a lot because you are in the forest, something like that. And you and your family meets one of them. But unfortunately, that this ranger gives you a strange map, which maybe you are not familiar with, right? Or maybe your family also uh is not familiar with it. Only coordinates, no pictures, no such Google Maps, something like that. But he tells you that this is the important map. If you want to explore this jungle, I don't want you to get lost. I want you to reach this point before you go to that point, something like that. Now, the very questions for us that is actually, well, we don't know where to go, how to go, and when to go. The very basic question that you would ask, how do we find our way, right? Now, that's the thing that we are going to learn today. Can coordinates tell us where things are? Now, I believe this is something that's actually already familiar to you when you are seeing this kind of numbers, right? Can you tell me which axis is this and this in
X,
coordinates? X, which one is
X,
X?
X, I think
Okay, this one is
the
X.
first one,
And
yes.
then
And then the
is this
second one,
Y?
Y, yes.
Okay, so each of them was correct. This coordinate represents X and Y. Both of coordinates represent the position of certain places you can go. So this It's gonna be something that we are going to refresh also today, but we are going to put certain places or destinations from time to time to sharpen the way that you read the coordinates. Now, we already noticed that both are the coordinates. There is no difference at it. Okay. Now, if you only have such map, you don't know which one is the higher ground, which one is the lowest ground. All you know is all dots. It's all about dots, right? Now, can you tell me the position, the coordinates of each? For example, Cam. Okay, let me add this up. Okay. Can you tell me, for example, Cam? Can you tell me the
Um,
coordinates of it?
um, 1
Mm-hmm. One
and 1.5.
1.5, exactly. Okay. Okay. Somewhere to it is also correct. Now, what about the bridge? What's the coordinate of it?
4
4
and
and
3.5.
4 and 3.5. Okay. 4 and 3.5. The rest of it, which one that you would like to pick first?
Lake
Lake. Okay, cool. What's the coordinate of it?
7 and 2.5.
7 and 2.5. Okay, cool. You still remember your learning lessons on school? 2.5. Now, which one again?
Swamp.
Okay, swamp.
Swamp is 5 and 4.5.
5 and 4.5. All right, the last one, cabin.
8 and 5.5.
Okay, 8 and 5.5. Now, if you notice that all the positions of the places that I put here was showing you the thing that might be new for you, which is decimal, right? We used to know that all the Cartesian diagram, we call it as diagram of Cartesians because it shows two axes, X and Y. All the horizontal line shown in all these coordinates would definitely represent X, and all the portrait something like this, standing line, I can tell in the simplest term, can be can be defined as y-axis. Now, the very questions, why don't we have the whole number in the coordinates level? Well, actually, there is no limitation in how we define the Cartesian diagram. If we zoom this in the, for example, in this particular area between 6 and 5, for example, if we zoom, we will notice that there is somewhere in between 5 and 6, the numbers that we actually haven't yet represented, haven't yet we defined, but some of the Cartesians or maybe Google Maps shown the very specific edge of point from 5 to 6. So it could be maybe 5.2, 5.4, and so on and so forth. Now, the way that we try to write it down when we have two axes to be placed or maybe to be written, right? Since that there is decimal in one or maybe two axes, you could separate them by using this kind of symbol. It's different when you have the whole number, for example, 8 and 5. You just put the comma right there. But if one of them is a decimal number, you need to use this. Why? Because we need to really have the distinction between each number. Which one is actually showing us the coordinate, or maybe which one that's actually showing us that it is the decimal number. Okay, so less confusion for us to actually segregate which one is x-axis and y-axis. Now, you already know how to reach each place based on the coordinates that being placed, even though that is it is not exactly as what we see. For example, that's why there is like 4.5, 2.5, something like that. Now, if you want to go from the camp, since the ranger gave you the map, and then the last destination you want to go is the cabin, how do you think is the fastest road for you to get there?
Camp to cabin.
Camp to cabin, for example,
The fastest route.
the fastest route. Or maybe which route that is actually possible for you to reach the cabin from the camp.
Um, from the camp to the swamp and then to the cabin.
To the swamp and then to the cabin. How can I write the line? Should I write it like this and this? Or maybe going up and then like this? Or maybe like this?
The diagonal one.
Diagonal one. Okay, let me rest the rest. Okay, the diagonal one. So, from the diagonal one that you think that is the shortest one, but also tells you that the point that you would definitely reach using this model is that you would be reaching the bridge, right? For example, I'm going to the cabin through the bridge and then going to swim before I'm going to the cabin. Now, the question is, I'd like to check with you. Why don't we go to the lake first? You know, the lake has a lot of views, something like that. You could take a rest or maybe do a camp for the short camp. No,
Uh,
I just want to ask your thoughts about this. There is no right or wrong answer.
um, I don't know.
Okay, so let's just assume that you want to go to the bridge before to the cabin. The very first destinations before to the cabin is the bridge. Now, each pair of numbers, we know already that it is showing exactly the place that we want to go. Now, can you tell me how to calculate this, for example? If I want to go from the camp to the bridge, right? And then I'm using the diagonal one. How much X that I should move?
How much X?
I should move.
What do you mean?
Okay, so this number is not only telling us that to mark the certain position, but also to define the representative of how far from a place to the certain places. So let's assume that all this line showing us in the unit of meters, right? Or maybe kilometers lah, kilometers as the unit to tell us about the space, right? So if we want to go from 1 kilometers and to 4 kilometers, so the ideal calculation that would tell us how far the bridge, we can tell it's around 3 kilometers. 3 kilometers in x coordinates and y
Oh,
coordinates. Can you tell me?
and the y coordinates is 2 kilometers.
Okay, exactly. That's the sample of how to read that map. But the fair thing is, we have two measurements. So which one is correct? 3 kilometers or 2 kilometers, right? There is why there is a function of compass, north, east, on the right side, west, and south, right? So when you're using the coordinates line, it's also similar to showing you that if you want to go from camp to the bridge, it's similar to, okay, I'm going to go 3 kilometers to the east, and then I'm going to north by 2 kilometers. Do you understand where this has come from?
Yes.
Okay, if I put this 3 kilometers, why I put it as east, right? Because it's on the positive value,
Yes.
right? Remember when you are on the last lesson, all on the left side on the x-axis would definitely tell you as the -1, -2, and
Yes.
so on and so forth. It's also similar to the bottom line, -1, and so on and so forth, right?
Yes.
Now, the negative numbers on the on this kind of diagram would not only showing you that you're going backward, but also can tell you that you're actually going down to the different direction, right? So in short, the visualization of this transformation is also similar to the compass itself. Now, can you tell me how far from camp to the swamp?
Come
You
to
see,
the swamp.
camp to the swamp.
Um, I think
Hmm?
for
For
east
and for going to east, for
and
east, and the north one,
3 north. Yeah.
3 kilometers to the north, right? If it is, if you are going to take this path, you're going to the 4 kilometers east, means that you are riding from the camp, you move to this before you're going down to the north. That's the basic calculation of how we define how much kilometers that we want to reach out. But since that you are about to do diagonal section one, there is a different calculation on how to define. Can it be shorter or longer than the normal path? Definitely showing you the difference, right? For example, the illusion that most of people never recognize is assuming that all the diagonal one is the shortest path one. While actually I can tell you that this one, the diagonal line, is actually the longest instead of using the flat line. Why? It's a common in math where you try to intersect. When you try to intersect something, right, using the diagonal line, it would use it would use in the calculation as the assumption for the another alternative, especially when we are trying to take down the road, right? The only difference on how we can tell, especially when we are doing the road trip or something like that. Well, actually, the diagonal one is the fastest one. It is when we actually involve the element of time and other variables. How is that possible? Imagine you are on the road, you are on the traffic. For example, this is your house, right? This is your house, and this is the market. I would try to put it as M. The normal path you take is 3 kilometers to the east and then 4 kilometers to the north, right? But since that the longest one is 5 kilometers, you still take this path because of why? Because you think this diagonal section, there is no traffic, for example, or maybe the road is really, really smooth compared to these two, right? So that's why you think it is still faster to reach from house to the market despite of the distance itself. Ah, but in the blind map, remember in the blind map, you're not sure which path to take, right? All you know is only about the diagram, about the Cartesian, showing you the X and Y line. Okay, so let's put this diagonal line as our assumption first, and remember that at least we know which one is the fastest one, despite we want to explore about the diagonal line. Okay, this one, let's keep it up. Right, it's similar to what I told you before on how to actually tell us which step, how much steps, how much kilometers that we want to reach out is basically to calculate all the x-axis from your destination and your starting point, and also similar thing to the y-axis, right? We use the operation of uh minus, right? 5 minus 1 could be equal to 4. 8 minus 1 could be 7. So 7 line to the x positive or maybe to the east if we are going to use the compass. And 4 kilometers to the north. It applies as well, not only for distance, but how much steps. If you want to go from like your bedroom to your toilet, for example, right? How much steps you would need, right? It's something that I used to practice. I used to do the practice in my house. I try to do the step based on the floor that I have, because if you see this in your house, you see the floor in your house, there will be grid, right? There will be grid each other. Maybe you could try to do the practice in your house. How much steps that I would take if I would like to go to the toilet using the X and Y axis. And then you try to do the same thing. How much steps that I would take if I just simply do diagonal one? Which one is? Which one is having much steps and which one is actually have a few steps, right? You can tell me on the next lessons, don't worry. But if there is no there is no specific there is no specific way for you to measure based on the coordinates, you could actually use the ruler in a small measurement, right? But you also could try to use like meter roll. Have you ever seen something like that? Right?
What?
So meter roll, meteran,
Oh, yes.
something like that. It's also very functional if you would like to compare how much steps that you would like to take not based on your steps. Because of why? Because probably when you took the diagonal path one, right? When you took the diagonal path one, your very step, each step would be very different compared to each other, right? Some steps are probably higher, some of them probably like tighter, right? But if you move like from X to Y axis, right, you probably just like move between floor to the floor, right? Because you know exactly how much the length of each floor to tells you how much stuff that you could define, or maybe how much distance that you could actually define. But in case that using the diagonal one would probably trouble you, you could try to use the ruler, maybe if you want to, or maybe raw method. It's very functional for you to compare. And you would figure out whether or not the distance of one point to another point using the diagonal one is actually longer or shorter, right? That's the very mystery that probably you could find in your house. Now, there is like a lot of possible options, a lot of possible options when we want to go from certain destination to another destinations, right? Now, instead of using the distance as meters or kilometers, maybe I'm gonna try to simplify it as best based on path. To me, I have two models. It's either I go directly from camp to cabin because in my preference, well, it's very exhausting. I am nowhere in the jungle, right? I'm nowhere in the jungle. I don't know what to eat. There is no tenant selling me lemonade or something like that. So I would definitely going as fast as I can. I probably ignore all the rest of the view, even though it is a bridge, swamp, or maybe beautiful lake, right? But there is also the opportunity for me to go down the road, and I chose the same selection like you when you are when you are picking the diagonal path from camp to the cabin. You would go from the bridge, and then you definitely go to the cabin. But I would take the horizontal line first to do the bridge, to go to the bridge, and then I'm trying to enjoy the view a little bit, something like that. So there is no right or wrong. Trying to decide, uh, trying to decide which path that we want to take. The very questions that we need to answer is whether or not every path that we take is really efficient. It's really efficient because if we just like putting a lot of time to it, right? Definitely we can. But if we can find a better way to to have the shortest one, well, that is actually would be helpful as well. Now, if I want to go from the camp to the cabin directly, I'm just gonna put simple calculation, right? This one is X, this one is X as well, right? And then from this to this. Now, like the way that I told you on how to calculate it, it's simple as 8 minus 1 to reach final destination right here before I'm going up. That means 1 to the 5. So this is 4 as part of 5 minus 1, and then this one is 7. The total steps, or maybe the total distance, is either 11 kilometers or maybe 11 steps for me to go from camp to the cabin. But also, if I would like to take the different path, right, using the bridge as my part of destination, I'm going to use this reference as the assumption that this is the shortest path. This is the shortest path. If I want to the cabin using another possible route and I chose bridge, I need to make sure that this way could also provide me at least similar steps, right? At least I enjoy the bridge, right? rather than using this one. I didn't enjoy it. You know, I'm not enjoying anything because there is nothing to view, right? Now, can you tell me how these 11 steps comes?
Mm. You add like all of the directions you go in. So, for example, when you go to the right,
Hmm.
it takes you 3 steps, and then
Okay,
when you
cool.
go up, it takes you 4 steps.
Mm-hmm. Four step,
And
yeah.
yes,
Four step, and then
and when you go right again, it takes you 3 steps.
okay, awesome. Three steps. So how much total steps that I took?
Um, 10.
10 steps. Okay. So three steps to the east and then four steps to the north. And then I continue to take 3 steps to the east before I reach the cabin. Now, if you notice that this one is actually shorter, right? This one is actually shorter compared to this one because it told you that 7 plus 4. This one takes you text, take you lesser than the previous one. So if you see this, which path that you would like to take? If you understand this already, are you going to take 11 one, or maybe you would prefer the 10 steps one?
The 10 step,
And step one, can you tell me why?
because it's shorter and you get to see lots of other destinations.
Ah, correct, definitely, right? So it doesn't mean if we just make our life more complexes, right? As what we see, it would waste our time. It would waste our time because the way that we read the Cartesians or maybe the coordinate axis just tell us that, well, there is a lot of possibility, right? But at least using the lesser steps would bring me to the bridge, would bring me to at least see a bit of how swam looks like, right? Before I go to the cabin, right? So this is why the usage of the coordinates would be as important as it is, right? Even if you have no actual map, actual map in your mind, but once you read this kind of coordinate, you try to plot as many as possible path, right, to route down from your starting point to your final destination, which is cabin, right? You could choose which spot you would like to go. Now, if I would like to skip the bridge to the cabin, I'm using this one, this path. Hang on, let me try to change the colors for you to easier visualization. Okay, now if I chose this path, can you help me to measure how many steps that I would like to take?
Um, so you go up
Mhm.
um like 2.5 steps, like two
Oh, this one
steps,
is three. This one is three. Okay,
three
three
steps,
steps, three
and
steps, and then
go right 3 steps too.
okay, three steps going to the east, and then oh, this one is RAM.
4, I think.
RAM is 1 and 5, 4, yeah.
Yeah, I think 4, yeah.
Okay, 4. Let me let me replace it. Okay, continue. And
And
then
then
from Swam,
go up 1 step,
okay,
and then go write 3 steps.
3 steps. Okay, 5 to 8, 3 steps. So how many total steps that I would take?
Um, 11.
Right. So this one shows you as well that using one destination, if we didn't pick it wisely, it would take us our time because we need to going further in terms of distance, right? But also, if I compare all of this to the first one, right, the result is the same, right? If you notice it, the result takes you in total 11 steps. But if you have the right to choose, do you think you would like to go this path or maybe this path?
Still the right path.
This one?
Yes.
Ah, you would like to meet the crocodile in the swamp. Ah?
Yes.
This one is very dangerous in the forest, But yeah, there is no wrong choices, because probably you would see a lot of fishes there. Uh, one of the swamp in Indonesia is actually showing us uh, the diverse of bioculture there, and it's very rare for us to see that swamp is is full with people because it was located in far near in the top of the mountain, and it's very hard for us to reach that point. But if you have any kind of choice to visit the swamp, it's also a total choice that you could also pick. Well, at least, like I said to you before, at least we take the same total steps when we try to go to the alternative. But if you want the shortest one, right, you could actually try to go to the bridge before you go to the cabin. At least you are on the safe spot because you're on the higher ground, right on the bridge, trying to view the swamp from the top of the bridge, right, before you're going down to the cabin. Now, the very challenge that I would like you to measure later on in part of the exercise is I want to tell you on the next session whether or not the diagonal line you tell me right here is actually the shortest one compared to the old path that we already take, right? This one already tell you that you take the 10 steps, right? Let's just convert, let's just convert all the steps into the centimeters, right? Now, you could also draw the line, or maybe you just place the ruler in your screen later on. How much centimeters from camp to cabin would take? I hope I hope the answer would be longer, yeah. But if you have different approach on how you measure the diagonal line, right this, or maybe this kind of diagonal from camp to bridge and then from bridge to cabin, it would tell you the different result from camp directly to the cabin versus to the camp to the bridge and then to the cabin, right? Make sure that you actually plot the ruler in the intersection. Very, very exact. Don't be like tilting the higher, tilting the lower, something like that. From using the ruler, you will see whether or not it will show you the shortest or the farthest one. Okay? Now, what I expect right here is actually showing you that the ruler would give you the shortest one. Like for example, if I try to put the result on my position showing 8.1 centimeters, but it's on me, yeah. Sometimes sometimes the result would be different. Sometimes the result will be the same. Ah, in my presentation showing that diagonal section between camera and the cabin is actually shorter than this path. But the thing is, this area, the red dot, the unconnected line, is actually showing us that it is the area of the swamp. That is why there is a bridge right there, right? So definitely, if you go straight from the camp to the cabin, even if the result is actually shorter path, you would be swimming in the swamp. You would find a lot of crocodiles. You would find a lot of things that you unexpectedly to see, right? So the question is, if the path is still shorter that we would like to pick, right? Do you want to take that still? Do you want to take it still?
No.
No, right? Because there are a lot of risks. There are a lot of risks that we didn't expect it, right? We just go from camp to cabin just for to have fun with our bike trail, right? We don't prepare like raft. We don't prepare for the lifeguard. We don't prepare a lot of things for our safety in the swamp, right? So using the coordinates line, using the coordinate lines, even so that we know using the diagonal one is still shorter than the horizontal and portrait one is actually longer, right? We also need to put another considerations. So it doesn't mean less steps, less distance is actually still better than the longest one, right? Now, if let's say you already know the diagonal one is 8.1, this one is 11 steps, and I forgot about what I told you on the previous one. It's either to the bridge before to the cabin or something like that. Which one? Which part that you would like to take?
Um, the left one.
This one?
Yes.
Okay, because you would like to play safe, right? You would
Yes.
like to play safe. Okay, I take the risk that I might have much more steps, but at least I'm safe because I don't have to meet crocodiles. I don't have to bother myself in terms of seeing the swamp. Probably there is nothing to see in the swamp, but at least I arrived at the cabin and I go home, right? But if if I would like to take another one, at least a bit more efficient in terms of the distance, but still have the opportunity in terms of, seeing another possibility of views, right? I would probably take the bridge before to the cabin. Now, this is the safest one. Okay, cool, cool. Okay, so we already learned about the position that could define you which path to take, how much it would take, right? And then which one is the farthest, is the fastest, but yet still be effective to reach our goals. So using the calculation, using our skill, how to read X and Y, as simple as that, it also helps us to decide which decision to take. Okay? Now, the bulletproof, the moment of truth that you would probably want to measure by yourself, which one is shorter or maybe longer, right? In my assumption that actually the path, the ruler would show the longest one instead of my contradictory this one. I just put on the random digit, right? I hope you could tell me on the next meeting whether or not this one is actually longer or shorter. Okay? Before we finish the session tonight, do you have any question or maybe you're still confused about something?
No.
All right. Okay. So in the next meeting, we will try to put as many as possible landmarks, right, on this diagram. I'm gonna put it as positive and minus diagram. I hope you still remember the way on how to actually put these numbers not only as numbers but also try to tell you the distance, the time, the weight or something, right? Because it's actually functional to measure a lot of things. Okay. And from there, I hope that we could not only refresh the lesson from your third grade, but also to prepare you on the fourth grade. Okay. Now, I think that's all. Before we end this session, is everything good?
Yes.
On your side? Okay. Okay. If there's nothing else, I think that would be it, at least for the introduction and the refreshment of the diagram sections. I'm gonna see you again on Thursday. Thursday ya? Kita ya. Thursday on the same time. Thank you so much, Widi, for your time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Natividad,